A spokesman for Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says that he'll try to force a vote on the nomination of Errol Southers as new Transportation Security Administration chief when senators return from their winter recess. Now, the nomination is currently on hold right now for debate. The Senate is quickly becoming a heated battleground over the agency that is charged with protecting U.S. ports. Now, once again, here's CNN's Homeland Security correspondent Jean Meserve with the very latest.
50,000 transportation security officers screen, inspect, question, and observe at the nation's airports to keep dangerous people and items off planes. Senator Sen Dement believes giving them collective bargaining rights would hurt security.
Collective bargaining would standardize things across the country, make it much less flexible, much harder for the agency to adapt to changing threats around the world.
Harder, for instance, to react to something like the Christmas Day bombing attempt or the 2006 plot to blow up airplanes with liquid explosives. Within hours of learning of that, the TSA ramped up security and temporarily banned carry-on liquids. The union representing 12,000 TSOs says Dement's argument is rubbish, pointing out that employees of the Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Federal Protective Service, and others all have full union representation.
You know, no one talked about union membership when the cops and the firefighters went up the stairs at 9/11 at the World Trade Towers. No one talks about our two officers, two union members, who took down the shooter at Fort Hood. There was nothing in their union membership that stopped them from doing their duties.
During the presidential campaign, Barack Obama wrote the union that giving TSOs collective bargaining rights would be a priority. Unions gave him valuable support in the election.
It's all about politics. It's payback to the unions.
Dement pushed the issue at a recent hearing.
How can unionization and collective bargaining enhance security at our airports?
Well, Senator, the answer is collective bargaining and security are not mutually exclusive concepts.
Dement is holding up the confirmation of Errol Southers to head the TSA to make his point, though Southers has been non-committal on the union issue, telling Dement he wouldn't recommend anything that would potentially compromise the safety and security of the flying public.
I think that the nominee understands the confirmation process and that he doesn't want to say anything controversial. But ultimately, once he's confirmed, it's not going to be his choice. It's going to be the choice of the secretary and ultimately the choice of the president. And the president's made it clear where he stands.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid now says that if Senator Dement hasn't changed his mind by the time the Senate comes back in mid-January, he will take steps to hold an up or down vote on the Southers nomination. Jean Meserve, CNN, Washington.
Well, joining me now from Greenville, South Carolina, to talk about the action surrounding Southers' nomination is Republican Senator Sen Dement. Senator, thank you so much for joining us here in the Situation Room. You heard Jean Meserve's report. Clearly, the Majority Leader, Harry Reid, is going to be fast-tracking this through as soon as senators return from their break. What is going to be your response, if any?
Well, he could have done that months ago. Unfortunately, the president has been downplaying the threat of terrorism since he took office. He waited 8 months to even nominate someone for this position, and then he wanted him approved with no debate or no vote. The only thing I've asked for is limited debate and a recorded vote. Senator Reid could have done that months ago, but the fact is they've been working on other things and have not seen airport security as a priority.
Well, clearly they were working on the Senate reform, the Senate health care reform bill, which is obviously a big task ahead, as you can acknowledge. But coming back now, is there anything that you're going to do to counter this motion that he's going to file to cut off debate?
Well, I think the American people should be aware that the priority of the administration is to submit our airport security to collective bargaining with the unions, even though that's been prohibited since the agency was formed. The reason it's prohibited is the same reason for the CIA, the Secret Service, the FBI, the Coast Guard, is there's a constant need to adjust and to be flexible, to use imagination to change things. We cannot ask a third-party union boss whether or not we can move a screener from one station to another.
Senator,
that's what collective bargaining does.
I want you to respond, however, to the American Federation of Government Employees. This represents 12,000 of the TSA's nearly 40,000 transportation officers. They say this isn't a security issue.
Right.
They say this is not an issue of security. There's no evidence that labor rights have any effect on transportation security officers. This is a dedicated workforce who see their jobs as important to the security of the nation. And they point to union members who both acted after 9/11 in the Fort Hood massacre as well, that these were union members, firefighters, police officers who essentially acted very quickly, and that it doesn't really, your argument doesn't hold water here.
Well, my beef is not with union members, but with union bosses in the collective bargaining process. The union boss that you were interviewing used the Customs and Border Security as an example. We do have 12 million undocumented aliens in our country, and that agency has also had to deal with all kinds of charges, of changing prices for parking. They're dealing with the collective bargaining of unions all the time, and they're not as effective as they should be. But there's a reason that collective bargaining was prohibited from the airport security. It is very different from a local police department. They're having to deal with international threats, as we saw on Christmas Day. They have to constantly be changing. And there is no reason, no good security reason, that we should submit this to collective bargaining. All it is politics. The president promised the unions that he would bring these 50,000 people into unions,
Senator,
and it just doesn't make any sense for security.
I want to turn the corner, if I may. There's a lot of politics that are being played out here over the president's response to this attempted terror attack. You've been very critical of the Obama administration in terms of his response, but he has come out over the last couple of days twice now, and the president said very clearly that this was a systemic failure, that it was human failure, and it was a catastrophic breach of security. Are you satisfied that the president, his administration, is stepping up here and taking responsibility?
Well, that frankly is good news, as the president, while other Democrats are trying to find someone to blame for this, at least the president's saying it is the responsibility of his administration. My hope is that he'll change his focus from politics to real security. There's no reason that we should be focusing the attention of our Homeland Security Agency and airport security on collective bargaining with union bosses when we need to be upgrading so that we can deal with threats all over the world.
Senator,
again, there is no security reason for collective bargaining right now.
We're going to have to let it go there. Thank you so much for joining us in the Situation Room. Clearly, come back in January. We'll see how this debate plays out, whether or not there will be a debate over that very issue. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you.